The afternoon sun was warm, but the breeze carried a small chill that made the busy street feel a little less predictable. People walked quickly, their eyes fixed on their phones or their thoughts, barely noticing the man sitting quietly by the edge of the sidewalk. His name was Daniel. His clothes were worn, his shoes had more scratches than color, and his backpack was a faded reminder of a life that once looked very different from the one he lived now. Daniel wasn't loud or demanding. He didn't shout at people or wave signs in their faces. He simply sat with a small paper cup beside him, hoping someone might drop in a few coins or maybe $1. For him, $1 meant a warm drink or a sandwich if he was lucky. But more than that, each dollar he collected felt like a tiny reminder that he still had a place in the world, that he still mattered. Life hadn't always been this way for him. There was a time when he had a job, a small apartment, and a quiet routine that made him feel steady. But life had a strange way of piling problems on top of each other. One bad month became 2, then 3, and before he fully understood how quickly things could fall apart, he found himself without a home, without savings, and without anyone he felt he could call for help. So he learned to survive in small ways, day by day, dollar by dollar. On this particular day, something felt different. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the crowd gathering across the street, or the expensive cars rolling into the parking lot of a large building with tinted windows. The people dressed better than usual suits, clean shoes, shiny watches, and the kind of confidence he remembered once having. He watched from a distance at first, trying to understand what was going on. A few people around him murmured about some kind of private tech event. Daniel didn't know the details, and honestly, he didn't care much. But something about the gathering caught his attention. It wasn't the event itself, it was the people. They walked with purpose and energy, and their clothes looked untouched by worry. As he watched them, a small thought passed through his mind. Maybe today he might get lucky and someone from that crowd would be willing to help. He stood up slowly, brushing the dust from his pants. His legs felt stiff from sitting too long. He lifted the small paper cup and held it lightly in his hand. He didn't expect much. He never did. But he hoped for a little kindness. Just a little. Then something unusual happened. A black SUV pulled up near the entrance of the building. It wasn't flashy, not the kind with gold rims or loud engines. It was simple, clean, and quiet. The door opened, and a small group of people stepped aside as a man climbed out. Daniel didn't recognize him at first. He only noticed that the crowd took a sudden breath, as if everyone became more alert at the same time. Cameras lifted. People stood straighter. A whisper spread through the crowd, one name floating above the rest. "Is that him?" Someone said softly. "It looks like him." Daniel couldn't hear the full conversation, but he didn't need to. He looked at the man again, short hair, simple jacket, no dramatic entourage, just a calm walk, as if he was thinking of something far away. Someone near Daniel said the name clearly this time. Elon Musk. Daniel blinked. He had heard the name before, of course. It was impossible not to. Musk was everywhere on TV, online, in conversations about the future, space, cars, technology. But seeing him in person felt unreal, like watching someone step out of a screen and into the real world. Daniel felt a strange mix of nerves and curiosity rise in him. He looked at his cup, then at the man walking past the security line. He knew how ridiculous the idea was. Why would someone like Musk's stop to talk to him? He wasn't even sure why his feet began moving on their own. He took a few careful steps toward the entrance. Security noticed him immediately, but he kept his pace slow and respectful. He wasn't trying to cause trouble. He just had a sudden impulse. He couldn't explain an impulse that whispered, "Try. What's the worst that could happen?" People around him might have thought he was foolish for even considering it. But when life knocks you down enough times, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for something simple. Daniel approached, just as Musk stepped away from the SUV. For a moment, Daniel hesitated. Maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe he should turn back, sit down, and pretend he never stood up. But something inside him, maybe hope, maybe desperation, pushed him to speak. His voice came out quieter than he intended, almost shaky. "Excuse me, sir?" Security moved faster this time, stepping closer to Daniel, but Musk lifted a hand slightly, signaling them to stop. He turned and looked at Daniel directly. His expression wasn't annoyed or dismissive. It was curious, as if he genuinely wanted to know what Daniel had to say. Daniel swallowed hard. His palms felt sweaty, and his heart thumped loudly in his chest. He lifted the cup just a little. "Could you maybe give me $1? There was no dramatic flair in his question. No clever speech. No expectation of anything big. Just a simple request, said in the most honest way he knew how. The crowd nearby went silent for a moment. People watched, some pretending not to stare, but failing miserably. Even security seemed unsure of what would happen next. Musk didn't respond right away. He looked at Daniel carefully, not with pity, but with genuine curiosity. It was as if he was trying to understand, not just the question, but the story behind the man asking it. Daniel felt the weight of the silence, but he didn't look away. He didn't want to seem afraid, even though he was. He just held the cup, hoping that even if Musk said no, he would at least acknowledge him as a person. $1? Musk finally said, his voice thoughtful. Daniel nodded. Yes, just one. Musk tilted his head slightly, studying him. Why one? Daniel took a slow breath. It was a simple question, but not an easy one. People asked for money all the time, but no one ever asked why he wanted exactly $1. He wasn't sure Musk wanted the long explanation, but something about the moment felt honest enough to try. Because it's enough to remind me I'm still moving forward, Daniel said softly. Just a small win. Something to show me the day isn't all bad. Musk didn't break eye contact. Daniel could tell he was really thinking, not just pretending to listen. The crowd continued to watch, the air thick with curiosity. Daniel wondered what Musk would say next. He didn't expect anything big. A simple yes or no was enough. But the look in Musk's eyes made Daniel feel that something unusual was happening, something he didn't fully understand yet. And standing there, in that strange and unexpected moment, Daniel felt for the first time in a long while that maybe, just maybe, today could be different. For a moment, everything around Daniel seemed to fade into the background. The voices, the footsteps, the murmurs of the crowd. All he could focus on was the man standing in front of him. Elon Musk wasn't smiling or frowning. He wasn't acting bothered or annoyed the way some people did when Daniel approached them. Instead, Musk looked like someone who had paused life itself, just to solve a puzzle that had suddenly appeared in front of him. Daniel didn't know what to expect. The silence stretched on longer than he thought it would, and he felt his nerves starting to creep up again. He wondered if he had made a mistake. Maybe approaching someone so important wasn't the smartest thing he had ever done. Maybe he should have stayed on the sidewalk, quietly hoping for a few coins from strangers who didn't even look up. But Musk didn't look away. His eyes were sharp, thoughtful, almost studying Daniel, as if trying to understand something deeper than the simple request he had made. Security stood a few steps behind, still watching closely, but not interfering. They seemed confused, unsure why Musk hadn't already moved on. People in the crowd held their phones in mid-air, not daring to record openly, but not putting them away either. No one wanted to miss what was happening. Finally, Musk spoke again. His tone was calm, but there was a seriousness behind it. "Tell me something," he said. "What does $1 mean to you?" Daniel felt his chest tighten. The question wasn't judgmental. It wasn't mocking. It sounded like Musk genuinely wanted to know. Daniel took a breath and tried to put his feelings into words. "It means—" He paused, searching for the right thought. "It means the day isn't completely against me. It's a small step, a tiny one, but still a step forward." He felt embarrassed saying it out loud. To most people, $1 was nothing. They dropped it on the ground and didn't bother picking it up. They spent it on things they barely noticed. But to him, $1 wasn't just money. It was a sign that life hadn't forgotten him. Musk's expression softened slightly, but he still looked deep in thought. "Small wins," he repeated quietly, as if trying to understand the significance. Daniel nodded. "Yeah. Small wins keep me going." For a moment, Musk looked past Daniel, toward the street, almost as if he was seeing a different version of the world. Or maybe he was thinking of his own past. Daniel had no idea. All he knew was that Musk wasn't brushing him off the way others did. Then Musk turned back to him. "What happened?" he asked gently. "How did you end up here?" Daniel froze. It wasn't a question he expected. Most people didn't care enough to ask. And when they did ask, it was usually out of judgment, not concern. But Musk's voice didn't carry judgment. It carried curiosity, real, human curiosity. Daniel hesitated, unsure how much to share. Not because he wanted to hide anything, but because the story was long, messy, and painful. And he didn't want to sound like he was begging for sympathy. Still, something in Musk's eyes made Daniel feel safe enough to be honest. "I had a job," Daniel began quietly. "Nothing special, but it paid the bills. Then I got sick, had to leave work for a while. When I came back, things weren't the same. Hours were cut. Bills piled up. One thing led to another." He shrugged lightly, though the weight of his memories tugged at his shoulders. "I tried to keep up, but sometimes life moves faster than you can. And before I knew it, I just couldn't hold on anymore." Musk listened without interrupting, his posture relaxed but focused. He didn't check his phone. He didn't look around impatiently. He gave Daniel something rare attention. "And now?" Musk asked. Daniel looked down at his shoes. "Now I'm just trying to keep myself going one day at a time. I don't have big dreams anymore. Just hoping for some stability. Maybe a room someday. A job I can manage. Something I can wake up for." His voice cracked slightly, but he held himself together. He didn't want to cry. Not here. Not in front of strangers. Not in front of someone who had built rockets. Musk nodded slowly, as if each piece of Daniel's story was fitting into a larger picture. "You haven't given up," he said. Daniel blinked, surprised. "What do you mean?" "If you had given up," Musk continued, "you wouldn't be standing here right now. You wouldn't be asking for a small win." Daniel felt something tighten and loosen inside him all at once. He didn't know what to say. Musk took a small step closer, not invading space, but closing the emotional distance. "Most people don't understand how hard it is to keep going when everything feels heavy," he said quietly. "The world expects people to get up quickly. But sometimes people need time." Daniel didn't know how someone like Musk could understand anything about his life. Yet somehow the words felt real, as if Musk had seen his own share of struggles behind the success everyone talked about. Another pause passed between them. This one softer, less tense. Musk looked at Daniel's cup again. "You asked for $1, he said. "But what you really want is a chance." Daniel felt his breath catch. He didn't know if Musk was right, but the words sank deeply into him. "I don't expect anything big," Daniel whispered. I just don't want to feel stuck forever. Musk held his gaze. Do you want to work again? Yes, Daniel said quickly, surprising even himself with the force of his answer. I do. I miss feeling useful. I miss having a routine. I miss having a place to belong. For the first time, Musk smiled faintly, just a small curve of the lips. Not a business smile or a polite one more, like someone seeing a possibility. The crowd behind them shifted, whispering again. But neither of them turned. Musk nodded once more, thoughtful, weighing something unspoken. Then he said something Daniel never expected to hear. Walk with me? Daniel blinked. Walk with you? Musk motioned gently toward the building. Just for a moment. I want to talk to you properly. Security looked stunned. One of them stepped forward. Sir, the event? It can wait, Musk said calmly without looking at them. Daniel stood completely still. He wasn't sure if he heard incorrectly, or if this was some kind of strange dream. He would wake up from under a bridge. But Musk was serious. He took a step forward, then turned back slightly, waiting. Come on, Musk said softly. Just a conversation. Daniel felt his throat tighten. His legs felt heavy and light at the same time. This wasn't how his day was supposed to go. He was supposed to sit on the sidewalk, hope for a few coins, maybe find something to eat, and then search for a safe corner to sleep. And now he was being invited into a conversation by someone he never thought he would meet, slowly, almost afraid the moment would vanish. Daniel took the step forward. And another, and another. Musk walked beside him, not ahead, not behind, matching Daniel's pace as they moved toward the entrance. People around them stared, amazed, confused, curious. But Daniel hardly noticed anymore. His heart was racing. Not from fear, but from something he hadn't felt in a long time. Possibility. As they approached the doorway, Daniel realized something. He had no idea where this conversation would lead. No idea what Musk wanted to talk about. No idea why this was happening. But for the first time in what felt like years, he felt seen. And that alone made the moment unforgettable. As Daniel walked beside Musk, he kept expecting someone to stop them, or for Musk to change his mind, or for the moment to break apart the way good things sometimes did. But nothing like that happened. Instead, Musk held a calm pace, hands in his pockets, as if walking with a stranger from the streets was the most normal thing in the world. The entrance doors slid open automatically. Cool air flowed out from inside the building, brushing against Daniel's face. It felt strange, clean, crisp, almost too fresh compared to the air outside. He hesitated at the doorway, unsure if he was even allowed to step inside. But Musk glanced back and gave a small nod, so Daniel took a breath and followed. They moved into a wide lobby filled with tall windows that allowed sunlight to spill over polished floors. People dressed in sharp outfits glanced their way, clearly recognizing Musk, but their attention shifted to Daniel with surprise and uncertainty. No one said anything, but their expressions said enough. They were curious, confused, maybe even shocked. Daniel tried not to shrink under their stares. He reminded himself that Musk had invited him, not anyone else. If Musk was okay with this, then it shouldn't matter what anyone else thought. They walked to a quiet corner, away from the main flow of people. Musk stopped near a small seating area with simple chairs and a low table. He motioned for Daniel to sit, and Daniel lowered himself carefully into the chair, unsure if he was too dirty or too out of place. Musk sat across from him, leaning forward slightly with a thoughtful expression. For a moment, neither spoke. Daniel tried to read Musk's face, but it was impossible to guess what he was thinking. Finally, Musk broke the silence. "You said you want stability," he said. "Tell me, what does that look like for you?" Daniel let out a slow breath. The question felt bigger than anything he'd been asked in a long time. Honestly, he began, stability is a clean bed, a door I can lock, a place I won't be kicked out of if I can't pay for a night, and a job I can actually keep. Something simple, something steady. Musk nodded thoughtfully. Do you have any skills you want to use again? Daniel thought about it. I used to work in maintenance. Small repairs, cleaning, checking equipment. I was good at it, reliable. I liked routines. I liked knowing people could depend on me. Musk listened carefully. And what stopped you from getting back into that? Daniel looked down at his hands. They were worn, dry, and rough from sleeping outdoors. When you live on the streets, he said quietly, people don't really give you a chance. They see you and think you're lazy, or dangerous, or unreliable. And when you don't have clean clothes or an address, it's even harder. I tried, but no one wanted to listen. Musk leaned back in his chair, thinking. You know, he said slowly, people always talk about big solutions, big changes, big ideas. But sometimes the difference between someone sinking and someone standing is something small, something simple. Daniel nodded, though he wasn't sure where Musk was going with this. Musk continued, I don't think you're asking for a handout. I think you're asking for a chance to rebuild. Daniel swallowed. It felt strange hearing someone describe his struggle so clearly. Musk added, most people underestimate how hard it is to climb out of a tough situation when you start from zero, or below zero. Daniel looked up, unsure what to say. Musk's voice softened. You said you miss having a place to belong. Everyone deserves that. There was something steady in Musk's tone, something grounding. Daniel didn't know why Musk cared so much, but at that moment, it didn't feel like pity. It felt like understanding. After a short pause, Musk asked, if you were given a real opportunity, housing, clothes, support, a job, would you take it seriously? Daniel's answer came out instantly. Yes, absolutely. I just need a way back in. I don't want to stay where I am. I just don't know how to move forward on my own. Musk studied him for a long moment, as if measuring the weight of Daniel's words. Everyone hits setbacks, he said finally. Some more than others. But what matters most is whether you're willing to move forward when someone opens a door. Daniel nodded. I am. I really am. Musk's expression shifted again, focused, intent, almost like he had just solved a complicated problem in his head. Good, Musk said softly. Because I think you deserve that door. Daniel felt his heart pound. He didn't know what Musk meant by that, but the tone suggested something life-changing. Musk leaned his elbows on his knees. Let me ask you one more thing. What do you want your life to look like a year from now? Daniel blinked. A year? He had never thought that far ahead. His life was measured day by day, sometimes hour by hour. I want to be working, he said slowly. I want to have a small room. Maybe reconnect with people I've lost touch with. I want to feel human again, not invisible. Musk nodded with a soft hum, as if the answer confirmed something important. You're not invisible, Musk said. Not now. Daniel felt a sudden warmth spread through his chest. He wasn't sure if it was relief or shock or hope, maybe all three. Musk stood up slowly, and Daniel stood with him. You asked me for $1, Musk said. But $1 isn't what you need. Daniel's breath caught. He felt the atmosphere shift, like a moment right before lightning hits the air. You need something sustainable, Musk continued. Something that gives you more than just one good day. Daniel hesitated. What do you mean? Musk didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked a few steps toward the hallway, motioning for Daniel to join him. When Daniel caught up, Musk spoke in a calm but confident voice. How would you feel about working at one of the facilities connected to my companies? Daniel froze. He thought he misheard. Work for you? Not for me directly, Musk said. But there are partner facilities that handle maintenance, cleaning, equipment checks. Jobs that require reliability, not fancy degrees. Daniel stared at him, stunned. His mind struggled to connect the dots. Musk added, "You'd start with training. Something manageable. Not overwhelming. We'd make sure you had housing for a while, clean clothes, basic needs covered. A stable base to rebuild your life from." Daniel felt his throat tighten. His eyes burned, but he tried hard not to let tears fall. "Why?" Daniel whispered. "Why would you do that for me?" Musk looked at him with a quiet expression, neither proud nor distant. "Because sometimes," he said gently, "one small act of kindness can create a chain reaction. And because you reminded me that strength doesn't always look like success. Sometimes it looks like someone still trying, even after everything falls apart." Daniel stood speechless. He felt like the ground beneath him had shifted. Like the world had opened a door he never expected. Musk placed a hand lightly on his shoulder, not firm, not dramatic, just human. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "Just take the chance. That's all I ask." Daniel could only nod. His voice wouldn't come out. His hands trembled slightly, and he forced himself to breathe slowly. Musk gave a small, encouraging smile. "Good. Then we'll get started?" Daniel realized in that moment that his life might actually change. Not someday, not in a distant dream, but now. Right here. Right in front of him. And for the first time in years, hope didn't feel like something far away. It felt real steady, warm, and close enough to touch. Daniel could barely keep up with everything happening around him. One moment he had been sitting on a sidewalk with a paper cup, wondering if the day would bring him a single dollar. The next, he was walking through a bright hallway beside one of the most recognizable people on the planet. It didn't feel real. It felt like he had stepped into a story someone else was supposed to experience. Musk led him into a small, private office near the back of the building. It wasn't fancy. In fact, it was surprisingly simple: a desk, 2 chairs, a small plant by the window, and a screen on the wall that wasn't even turned on. Musk closed the door gently behind them. "Have a seat," he said. Daniel sat, his hands resting awkwardly on his knees. He didn't know what to do with them. He didn't know what to do with himself. Musk took the chair opposite him and leaned back, studying Daniel for a long, quiet moment. Not in a way that felt uncomfortable, but in a way that made Daniel feel like Musk was trying to understand him, not judge him. "I want to be honest with you," Musk began. "I don't do this often." Daniel nodded slowly. He didn't know what Musk meant, but he stayed silent, listening. "There are many people," Musk continued, "who need help. And I can't help everyone. No one can. But every so often, I meet someone who reminds me why small decisions matter." Daniel lowered his eyes, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and disbelief. "I'm not sure I deserve all this," he said quietly. Musk shook his head. "Deserve isn't the right word. Life isn't about who deserves what. It's about who's willing to try when given a real chance." Daniel felt a lump rise in his throat. For so long, he had carried the belief that he wasn't worth much, not to society, not to employers, sometimes not even to himself. Hearing someone like Musk speak to him with such calm certainty shook something loose inside him. Musk tapped the arm of his chair lightly. "I want to set you up with temporary housing for the next few months," he said. "Somewhere clean and safe. No conditions. Just a place to breathe and rebuild." Daniel's mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. It felt too big to process. "And," Musk continued, "I'm going to arrange for basic clothing and essentials. Nothing extravagant, just what you need to live with dignity." Daniel felt his chest tighten. Dignity. a word he hadn't felt in years. Once you're settled, Musk went on, you'll start a trial position at one of the facilities nearby. It will be simple work at first, maintenance, cleaning, general tasks. But you'll receive training. And if you stay committed, it can turn into something long-term. Daniel's breath hitched. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything yet, Musk replied gently. Just tell me you're willing to take the chance. Daniel nodded quickly, his voice still shaky. I am. I promise I am. Musk smiled slightly. Good. A knock sounded at the door. Musk called out, Come in. A staff member stepped inside, a calm-looking woman holding a tablet. She gave Musk a respectful nod, then glanced at Daniel with a warm, understanding expression that eased some of his nerves. This is the person I mentioned earlier, Musk said to her. Please help him get set up with temporary housing and basic essentials. Make sure everything is done today. Of course, she replied without hesitation. Daniel looked between them, still feeling like he was floating. I don't know how to thank you, he said softly. Musk stood up, offering his hand. You don't need to thank me, he said. Just focus on moving forward. That's all. Daniel rose and shook Musk's hand. It wasn't a stiff or formal handshake, just firm, steady, kind. The kind of handshake that tells someone they're being treated like an equal. Before Daniel could let go, Musk added quietly, and for what it's worth, asking for $1 took courage. You probably don't think it did, but it did. Most people would have said nothing and walked away. But you spoke up. That matters. Daniel swallowed hard. He had never thought of it that way. Musk released his hand and stepped back. You're not getting $1 today, he said with a small, gentle tone. You're getting a start. Daniel felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. He looked away briefly, embarrassed, but Musk didn't seem bothered. The staff member motioned kindly. Whenever you're ready, she said. Daniel nodded, trying to gather himself. Musk's final words lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. As Daniel walked toward the door, Musk spoke one more time. Remember, he said, a person's future isn't written by their hardest moments. It's written by the moments after. Daniel paused, letting the words sink deep into his heart. Then he stepped out of the room, guided by the staff member. In the hallway, he felt a strange new feeling spreading through him, something soft, warm, unfamiliar. Hope. The kind he had forced himself to imagine on cold nights, just to make it through. This was real, solid, built not on wishes, but on a chance. As they exited the building and headed toward a waiting car, Daniel realized something that brought a tremble to his hands. He had come here asking for $1, and he was leaving with the first steps to rebuilding his entire life. Daniel woke up the next morning in a quiet room that didn't feel real. Soft sheets, a clean pillow, warm lighting, the kind of room he hadn't slept in for years. For a few seconds he lay still, listening to the quiet, letting it wash over him. No traffic noise echoing against concrete. No cold air biting at his skin. No feeling of danger sitting heavy on his chest. Just calm. He sat up slowly, taking in the small apartment, simple, neat, but perfect in every way that mattered. A folded set of clothes lay on a chair. A small card on the table listed the details for the training program he would begin in 2 days. Next to it was a phone provided by the staff with a message already waiting. Hope your first night was comfortable. Let us know if you need anything. Daniel exhaled, a shaky breath full of disbelief and gratitude. Everything had changed so quickly, and yet, for the first time in years, he didn't feel afraid of the change. Later that morning, he stepped outside and walked around the block. The sun was warm. People passed by without staring, and for once he didn't feel invisible. He wasn't wandering. He wasn't lost. He was just a man taking a morning walk like everyone else. He found a small park nearby and sat on a bench beneath a wide tree. Birds hopped across the grass. A family laughed near the playground. A man jogged past with a dog. Ordinary things, but to Daniel, they felt extraordinary. As he sat there, he thought back to the moment he had asked for a single dollar. He hadn't expected anything, not even the dollar, really. He had just been tired, hungry, and desperate enough to ask. That tiny moment, those few words, spoken with a trembling voice, had started everything. He remembered Musk's calm expression, the kindness in his voice, the way he talked to him without any sense of superiority. It wasn't pity. It wasn't charity thrown at him from a distance. It was an invitation to begin again. Daniel had never believed someone like Musk would notice someone like him. But he wasn't thinking about fame or wealth now. What stayed with him was something much simpler, the understanding that one person choosing to care can change the direction of a life. Over the next few days, Daniel settled into his new routine. He cleaned the small apartment, organized the essentials he'd been given, and took long showers that felt like washing away years of exhaustion. He practiced waking up early, made simple meals, and tried to rebuild habits he hadn't used since long before life had fallen apart. On the morning of his first training session, he dressed carefully. The clothes were plain, but new, fitting him comfortably, not hanging off him or frayed at the edges. When he looked in the mirror, he didn't see the man from the sidewalk. His face was still thin, still weathered, but his eyes looked different. There was direction in them. At the facility, the staff welcomed him warmly. They showed him around, introduced him to the team, and explained the tasks he would learn: maintenance, equipment checks, cleaning rotations, and eventually more technical duties. It would take time, but the path was clear. Every step he took felt like walking into a life he had once forgotten he could have. During a break, Daniel stepped outside to get some fresh air. As he leaned against the wall, taking everything in, a car pulled up at the entrance. The door opened, and Musk stepped out. Daniel straightened in surprise. Musk noticed him almost immediately and walked over with a small nod. "First day?" he asked. Daniel nodded. "Yes, I wanted to thank you again." Musk lifted a hand gently. "No need. You're the one doing the work now. That's what matters." Daniel hesitated and spoke honestly. "I didn't think I'd ever have a future again." Musk looked at him with a steady expression. "Everyone deserves a chance at a future. Sometimes it just gets buried under harder years. But it doesn't disappear." Daniel swallowed hard, emotion tightening his throat. Musk continued, "Just keep going. One step at a time. You don't have to become someone extraordinary. You just have to keep building. The rest will follow." Daniel nodded, letting the words sink in. Musk offered a brief smile. "I'm glad you're here." And with that, he headed inside for his meeting. Daniel returned to his tasks with a renewed energy. Throughout the day, he worked carefully, listened closely, and carried himself with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. When he walked home that evening, the sky was turning a soft orange. The city lights were beginning to glow, and the air held a gentle breeze. He thought about the man he had been only days before. A man curled on a sidewalk, unsure if tomorrow would be any different. A man who felt like the world had already closed its doors. And now he was walking toward a place he could call home. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't suddenly successful. But he had something far more important a beginning, a chance, a path forward. Daniel climbed the steps to his apartment, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. For a moment, he simply stood there, surrounded by the quiet warmth of the room. Then he whispered to himself, with a smile he hadn't felt in years, "This is just the start."